Good morning, everyone. And once again, I'm greeting you from the comfort of my own home. It's a very cold and rainy day here today in Pretoria, and I think the majority of the country is what I can see and hear. So therefore, if the lighting is not the best within this video, please excuse it. But yeah, like I said, it's one of those stay in bed and then watch DVD type of days. So we are on lockdown, I think 36, 37, might be even more. I think I've lost count at this moment. And I'm mentioning that because I think in future we're all going to look back and enjoy actually the time that we had within our house and with our family. South Africa has now moved to level 4, which gives the professionals and certain industries a little bit more leeway when it comes to doing their jobs. So we will see, depending on how quickly we can get through all of these levels up to level 1. I think it would be awesome to go out there again and experience normality, if we can call it that. Okay, so today's session is critical illness, and we chose a little bit something different because the previous few weeks we focused on the wealth creation side, and I thought it would be good to focus a little bit more on the wealth protection side today. And you know that from Harbour's side, those are the two pillars that we always look at. We first focus on the wealth protection, and then we move over to the wealth creation. Now, on the wealth protection side, the four major benefits that one can implement when you look at yourself and create liquidity and make sure that if anything had to happen, your life will be in exactly the same financial position that it was before. We've got the normal critical illness, we've got life cover, we've got the disability lump sum, and then critical illness. And because critical illness has got so many different aspects and so many different definitions underneath it, I thought it would be very good to bring in an absolute specialist within this field when it comes to claims as well as underwriting. Now, I'm going to add Fiona Butler. But before I do that, I just quickly want to give everyone a quick recap or just a background on who is Fiona. And when she sent me her little short snippet of who she is and what she's done in the past, I was extremely surprised to see that we've got an Olympian in the house today. She represented South Africa at the 2004 and 2008 Olympics. So that is awesome. But Fiona is not just a hockey player. She is also a qualified pharmacist. She studied at Wits, where she obtained her degree. And after that, because she's got an extreme passion for seeing how life insurance and these type of things can really make a difference in someone's life, she went to Discovery and she joined their claims department, where she was with them for about 6 years. Now, if we take that into account and Discovery and their benefits, I firmly believe that Fiona is really the best person to discuss claims and telling us exactly when a company will and will not pay out. After Discovery, her 6 years at Discovery, she moved to BrightRock. At BrightRock, she helped develop their claims department. So once again, BrightRock is one of well, they're not new anymore, but they're still one of the most innovative and up and coming companies within the risk insurance space. And for someone to be able to actually help them develop their claims department, I think she's going to bring a lot of knowledge into this discussion today. And she spent about 3 years with them, and then she decided to join the independent space, and she became Harbour Wealth's independent in-house risk specialist. So with that small background, I want to add Fiona Butler. Fiona, welcome to our show today.
Thank you so much, Wilco. I'm quite excited about today. This is my first Zoom chat, or whatever Zoom chat I should say, streaming chat over video and to everyone's home. So thank you so much for this invite.
Okay, brilliant. And thanks for putting your time aside as well, for joining us. So as I discussed it with Fiona, and please people make notes out there, feel free to comment. This is going to be an informal discussion when it comes to critical illness. And I think one of the first things that I would like to ask Fiona is if you can just give us a little bit of a background on critical illness, because I know in the past we had a discussion as well where when I sit with my clients, I normally tell them that critical illness is more of a nice to have because you put it in place where you want to protect or pay for debt or cover unforeseen expenses. But after we had our discussion and the more and more the claim stats went up, this benefit became a must have. So from your experience and what you've seen in the past, how has critical illness changed people's lives, as well as um, just how quickly, I think we must start with that. How quickly can a claim be paid from the moment a client thinks that they've got a valid claim?
So I think critical illness has come a long way. It actually was developed in South Africa by Chris Barnard's brother, the heart doctor. His brother actually thought about it because these people were getting diagnosed with strokes and cancer, and they actually weren't dying. They were actually recovering because of how medical advances have improved. So people weren't dying back in the day. They actually carried on living. And the problem was people couldn't support their lifestyles because of the treatment that they had to pay for, and it just became very expensive. So they developed this critical illness, severe illness, dread disease benefit, and it really has come a long way. It's very important to have in your life insurance portfolio because it is one of the benefits that pay out quickly. Once a diagnosis is made and the diagnosis meets criteria under the definitions, then you can get a payout. And under the SCIDEP, there's those payouts can be up to 100%. For example, a stage 1 cancer or a coronary bypass operation of just one vessel, it's 100% payout. So you're getting paid out the full benefit for not a minor surgery, but a less major surgery, and you live a full normal life often with for example, stage 1 cancer when you go back into remission. And nowadays with the cancer treatments, they are a lot better than what they used to be, and people are living up to 10 years and even longer with stage 1 cancers, so because they're in remission for some time. So that payment up front just helps you get enough money to pay for the treatment, because treatment is expensive, and then you can live a normal life after that. So dread disease is once diagnosis is made and it's confirmed on a medical report, for example, an MRI scan or a CT scan or something like that, then the life insurance companies pay out because they have to, because that's how the benefit works.
Okay. And just to come in there, so Fiona mentioned there the SCIDEP. So most of you will know there's a lot of definitions within a critical illness benefit, but the SCIDEP is then your cancer, heart attack, a stroke, and any type of coronary artery bypass. I hope I mentioned that correctly. I always struggle with that English one. And like she said there, the claims department, the moment there is there, and Fiona, you can tell us more about that. I don't think there's any company out there, once there's a valid, let's call it, report or any sign that someone had a slight heart attack or any diagnosis of cancer, companies don't try and look at a reason not to pay. And then those type of claims will actually happen very quickly.
Yeah, they should happen quickly. Sometimes the frustration is with the clients when it seems like the life insurance is asking for lots of when they're asking for lots of medical reports. But the problem is when clients claim within a 2-year period of their start date of their policy, reinsurers want to make sure that they underwrote the risk correctly at application stage, that the client did disclose all the information to them. So it is important that clients disclose as much medical information up front, so that when it comes to claim stage, it is a smooth process, because it's frightening for the client who's claiming, because they've just gone through this life-changing event. I mean, they've had a heart attack, they've had a stroke, whatever the occasion is, and it's scary. It's the unknown. You feel all healthy and suddenly you've been diagnosed with this disease. So it's the claims assessors want to try and make the process smooth, but they do have to call for medical reports. And once the diagnosis is confirmed on a medical report, which is easily done because there's blood results, there's MRI scans, there's CT scans, there's histology reports. Once that's confirmed, then the life insurance companies do pay, because they have to pay, because that's the way their products are designed. So once you get diagnosed with a critical illness, it should be a straightforward process, as long as there's no things that weren't disclosed. So when you are taking out life insurance, you must disclose as much as possible up front. I mean, you're not going to remember 10 years back that you had a gallbladder removed or whatever, but try and disclose as much as upfront as you can, because the life insurance companies, they will call for the medical reports, they will call for medical aid records if there is a concern about something.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, I think for everyone viewing out there as well, it's important to know that when we go into the claim stage, ourselves as wealth managers are there to help you and streamline the process. The awesome thing about being at Harbour, we've got Fiona in-house, so she also assists us with that. So we're really going to try from our side to streamline that process as far as possible. All right. So then one of the other things that I thought would be nice to discuss with everyone out there is, Fiona, in your past in the claims department, can you maybe mention a few, let's call it weird claims that has come in where people might have thought, you know what, I don't have a claim, or this might not be a valuable definition to qualify for a claim. Can you maybe mention a few of those for us, please?
Yeah, so there's a couple of examples. A claim that we actually, that I assisted recently with, was a client who had retinal detachment. He had a retinal detachment after playing water polo with his kids in the pool. It was a freak accident. And the retinal detachment happened and the company paid out, but then the retinal detachment kept on occurring because it just, I think, due to the nature of the injury. And he's actually had a further payout because the retinal detachment was sometime after the initial event. So that was quite nice, because he wasn't aware that he could get another payout. So that was really quite cool. And the life insurance company were very quick in paying that claim, because they'd already assessed him up front for the initial retinal detachment, which was really quite cool.
If I can quickly come in there, Fiona, what she's mentioned there, everyone, it's extremely important that when you take out a critical illness benefit, to make sure that it is a standalone benefit, because what Fiona has mentioned there, this client didn't know that he can keep on claiming. And therefore, how it basically works in the industry is, if you've got a standalone benefit, it means that that critical illness part stands on its own. So you can have multiple claims, whether it is the same disease or if you haven't depleted it, if it's something else that has happened. So it's extremely important to focus on that part. So yeah, Fiona, next.
Yeah, definitely. Standalone is the way to go. Unfortunately, it is expensive, but you can then keep on claiming, and that benefit stays as a whole benefit for lots of unrelated claims, and then, which is really quite fantastic. So a lot of companies offer standalone nowadays. So and I do recommend standalone is definitely the way to go. So another claim that I had at my previous companies was a client who actually went in for a minor shoulder surgery. I mean, it was nothing major. He'd hurt himself and he went in for the shoulder surgery. And unfortunately, a couple of days afterwards, a clot developed and he actually passed away. So that was quite horrific for the family, but the company paid for the actual surgery of the shoulder, and then paid then for the death claim, which was actually quite nice for the family. Not nice the whole experience, but nice that the life insurance company was able to pay for those both instances, which was really quite cool. And then another claim recently that we've had actually at Harbour is a client of ours. They unfortunately lost their baby. Very traumatic period for them, and the life insurance companies also paid out very nicely for them. It paid under the child benefits, which was an automatic benefit which applied under the critical illness. So they got paid out for that, and then also it was linked to an income benefit, and the income benefit paid out for 3 months for both parents due to the nature of the whole death and everything of this poor child. So it was a congenital heart condition, and cool. It's very nice that they were managed to get the payout. Not so nice, I mean, for the family, it's traumatic for the family, but at least it just helps with the medical costs and just all of that. So yeah, but I mean, that's what life insurance should be there.
I think it's important at this stage also for everyone to understand that the emphasis is not always just to receive something or get something out of it when you've got a lump sum benefit, or most of the times when we do planning, it's all about the let's settle your debts. But like Fiona just said there, the medical expenses are sometimes, it's almost like when you organize a wedding and you think that, okay, you've got your budget and you go through everything, and then that last 2 weeks before it's actually due date, then there's little bits and pieces of expenses that can come in. And I think it's the same when you go through this traumatic event and through this severe illness. Your medical aid might cover a large portion of that. You might not have any debt, but then there are always going to be certain things that are not going to be paid. And then it really just adds. I mean, if we think about the sorrow that family had to go through, I mean, if you had to now throw financial problems on top of that, so all of a sudden you don't have to worry about that. And I think that plays a massive role in why critical illness. Fiona, am I right also quickly there? What I'm thinking about now is when we think critical illness, we always just think about the illnesses that can occur. But if you think about some of the definitions that are part of this benefit, there's also a lot of disability that you can actually link to a functional or physical disability. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. There's loss of limbs, for example, an arm, loss of digits, for example, a finger, if you lose a full finger. There's also some of the companies offer traumatic benefits, which if you have a head injury in a car accident, for example, they'll pay for that. They'll also pay for ventilation if you are in ICU for long periods of time due to a number of instances. So yeah, there's a lot of definitions that companies pay. They do actually market themselves as as having a number of conditions that you can apply for under the critical illness benefit. So it's definitely a growing area within the life insurance space. There's a lot of competition, and a lot of the companies actually, I think, they are developing more and more their critical illness benefits because they see the benefit of it. They see how there's a lot of new cancers coming that they need to consider. There's a lot of the funny conditions out there. I mean, it really is a growing area within the life insurance industry.
Am I also right to say that COVID-19, I think we've discussed it a few weeks ago, but I mean, if you have to now be in ICU and be on a ventilator, then all of a sudden that triggers a valid claim as well?
It could be, yeah. If you're in ICU under ventilation for a week or longer, it could trigger in some instances, yeah. Some companies will pay out.
And I am right by saying that because COVID-19 is an ongoing thing, the insurance companies are reassessing it as we go along. But it doesn't necessarily, what's the English now? It's not a valid claim at this moment that if you are just diagnosed with the coronavirus, but we never know how this thing can evolve and how the insurance companies might see it going forward.
Yeah, currently they aren't paying for it. If you are booked off for longer than a 7-day waiting period, which is most of the professionals nowadays, then there might be a claim if you are, for example, ventilated in hospital, but being treated and diagnosed with the condition. You need to be diagnosed with the condition. Then the income benefit might pay. The critical illness, currently, it has to be extreme instances, for example, lung function tests, which are permanent, which people, they are recovering, and therefore they shouldn't meet criteria. So each claim would be assessed on its own merits. But I mean, we could always have a look at the definition, see what possibilities are out there. I mean, and I think companies will see how it goes. They might change their definitions, but I think it'll be too late for now. And also the other thing is it's quite a high risk, especially because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I think we're only going to be getting more infections as we go along. Probably June, July is when we'll hit our peak.
Okay, awesome. All right, so the next part that I want to move into, Fiona, is the actual claim stats. And I know we've received the claim stats from the various companies. So if you can maybe enlighten us, and I think it's safe at this point, if we want to mention a company's name, then we can throw it in there because those are the actual stats. Those things are available. But before Fiona starts with that, please, if there's anyone out there, I am once again available on WhatsApp. on the live chat. If anyone would like to ask Fiona a specific question that you were maybe unsure of, please feel free to send me a WhatsApp, send me an email, or just chat live, and we will all discuss that. So, right, Fiona, the claim stats that current. Oh yeah, and why I asked Fiona to mention the claim stats for us. I think if you're watching and you fall into certain brackets, or maybe there's family history of a certain type of claim that had the largest percentage, I think it would be important to maybe align your benefits so that if you look at the stats, if you are in that range of maybe claiming within the next 5 to 10 years. So Fiona, over to you.
So some companies haven't yet sent out their claims experience. FMI, I think, are now coming up in May, June. And I know that BrightRock normally have them, I think theirs in August or so. So I haven't got everyone, but I have got a couple of the companies. And the companies are paying into the billions. I mean, it's frightening. The death claims, I've got here Discovery. These are quite old, these stats, but they're into like 2 billion. They paid under the life benefits. They've paid over 700 million in terms of severe illness. Disabilities is into also the 700 million. So there's a lot of money being paid out in terms of their stats. I know a lot of people feel that the companies don't pay out, but they do actually pay out. They actually, I mean, if I look at all the companies, Old Mutual, they've paid out into 3.4 billion and more. We've got here Liberty is 3.2 billion, and Momentum, they on probably close to 3 billion as well. So most companies are over 3 billion currently paying under their life benefits, under their critical illness and disability. It's from about 400 million to 700 million. It's a lot of money that gets paid out. I know they do charge a lot in terms of their premiums, but they definitely do pay out under critical illness. It's a quick payment once you diagnose. As I've said before, the income benefits, that also pays out quickly once you've been booked off by a doctor. Here, for example, the Momentum, they paid out 100 million in terms of the income protection. We've got Liberty, they've paid out also 150 million. I mean, this is all income benefits, and also I can't see Old Mutual, unfortunately, but they're paying out into the millions. So there is a lot of money being paid out. People are claiming, and they are getting the money that they deserve. So yeah.
Are there any specific companies that send the stats where we know that the age bracket where the majority of the claims might have fallen? Do you perhaps have that there?
So a lot of the companies, it's probably similar. They probably follow similar projections and all of that stuff. So when you're young, you have the car accidents, you have the traumatic experiences, for example, head injuries and like breaking of arms and all those things. But as you get older, it's more cancers, it's more heart attacks. So that's when the SCIDP benefits then come in from the critical illness side. Having said that, a lot of the people, because of Vitality, because of Multiply, they are going out to check themselves. They are going to doctors. They are having scans, and actually, it's quite interesting to see how thyroid cancer has changed over the years. Thyroid cancer wasn't a big cancer out there, but in South Korea, it's become one of the main cancers that the life insurance companies are paying out for, because the people are getting tested for thyroid cancer. It is in a lot of younger people. They are getting diagnosed with stage 1, stage 2 thyroid cancers. Thyroid cancer, if detected early, is not a condition that you could possibly die from. It's stage 1, stage 2. They take out the thyroid, and you actually can live a normal life, because then they just inject you with thyroid medication, or you have tablets that you take over time. So but the problem is that the life insurance companies are now having to pay out for 100% for stage 1 thyroid cancer, and their risk is actually increasing. So they've actually downgraded the thyroid cancer, and they've actually staged it similar to prostate cancers, which aren't as I don't want to say bad, because any cancer is bad, but it's not as bad as for example, a malignant melanoma, brain cancer, or breast cancer. So they've actually staged those cancers differently, which is quite interesting. And I'm sure in the future, as people go out and get themselves tested, it's probably the stage of cancer is going to change quite fundamentally.
Yeah, and I think it's important what you mentioned there as well, is people get themselves checked. I think it's very important to have that annual checkup to prevent these type of things. And then also on the age is, I mean, my clients are fairly, let's call it younger, and but I've also had the unfortunate part of having 2 cancer claims just within the last 12 months, where it was at the age of 34, as well as another individual at the age of 26. So it's almost one of those things where, yes, unfortunately, if it's going to come your way, then age is not going to play a difference, because even though we are living healthier lifestyles, even though we are checking ourselves, unfortunately, the lifestyles that we live and how things are manipulated within the food industry and so forth can also play a massive role. All right, Fiona, then I think one last little bit of let's call it info, something different, is some weird claims that you've come across. We touched on the one or two previously, but any other claims that you want to finish off where people can go like, hold on, that might be something that I need to keep in the back of my mind?
Yeah, so we've actually just had a nice, not a nice claim, but a claim at Harbour where a client of ours had a stroke, and that was about 3 years ago. And they got paid out under the critical illness benefit, which was fantastic. But then what happened is, as they've progressed, they haven't yet fully recovered, and they've actually plateaued now and possibly won't be able to work fully in the industry. They're a physio, so they're working partially, which is quite nice. So the income, the company is actually paying a part income benefit now every month, which is really quite cool. And then also because they meet criteria under the child benefits, an education benefit, the company is actually paying for the children to go to a private school, which is really a fantastic offer. And so that at least takes the worry out of this client having to think, oh, I've got to pay for school fees and I'm only getting 50% of my income. But now this company have actually stepped in and have paid the school fees for 2 of their children at a private school for 5 years, which is fantastic. So these benefits are great. I mean, when you need them, and they really do, they really work as long as you have got some sort of cover in place. I mean, you can't have everything. You don't know what the future holds, but it's nice to just have something in place. So for these experiences or these events, that at least you've got something that you can not worry about the income. Then it's because it is sorted by the insurance. So yeah. And then another claim that has happened is a client had an accident. He was hit by a bus 3 years ago, and he actually didn't meet criteria at that point in time. 3 years later now, he actually is not fully functioning as he was in his business, and he's actually had to take a step back, and the insurance company is actually paying him an income benefit, and they've actually deemed him as unable to do his occupation, and they've paid him a full disability benefit, which is also fantastic. So yeah, it works. Life insurance works.
To always be on the spot and when it happens to you now, because it can have a long-term effect and eventually down the line cause a valid claim. All right. On that note, Fiona, thank you very much. I really want to appreciate thank you and appreciate the fact that you've taken your time to come and chat to us. I think it was extremely informative. I've also learned a few new things, as well as to add some stories to when we discuss this, because it's always good to actually talk about actual claims that happen out there, not just, you had an uncle or aunt who had cancer, but these are actually different types of claims. So from my side, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the lockdown. I'll see you soon at the office, hopefully.
Brilliant. Keep well, Wilco. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. So there you have it. Some interesting facts and figures, as well as claims. And from my side, us at Harbour has taken the house view to say that critical illness has moved from a nice to have to an absolute must have, especially when you think about the different ways of how it can change your life as well as affect your finances when these type of things would happen to you. All right, so that is it for this week. You do not want to miss next week's episode. We are going to go into property buying or renting, the old age discussion of which one is the best. Should I buy or should I rent? Until next time, please stay safe safe, and thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.